Oh yeah, I might as well jump in on this one. Listen, family, the nephew Ty, you gotta know that he understands as a pastor, he understands what he's talking about. Problem is that he said systems of the church. Nobody heard systems. They just heard church, and I get it. Now, Pastor Mike, who is the nephew as well, is absolutely right that you got to be careful when you come on these platforms and you say certain things that these kind of clips are going to get out by the millions because the people that are doing that are in a system that wants to downgrade the church as well. So a person that's on the fence, should I be in these streets or is this thing inside me God voice telling me to come home? I don't know, that might tip them to the other side. So I get it. I absolutely understand it. But the system is what he's talking about, and I get it. I get it. Let's give a couple examples. Number one, last year there was a popular bishop, good friend of mine. He was going to partner with an organization, another church organization that did not, see the Bible the way we saw it. And we kind of look down on stuff like that because I come from the days of the PAW Apostolic. It was against the Kojics, and the Kojics was against the PAW and the CGAF and the Baptists, and we just everybody was going to hell if you wasn't in our organization. See, that's a system. That's a system right there. But this bishop was going to do a great thing by reaching across the aisle and say, hey, listen, we may not agree on God, but let's feed people. Let's feed thousands of people, and maybe they'll see God. But because people inside that organization said, no, we're not supposed to hook up with no heathens, and I'm against it, he couldn't really do it. You know why? Because at the end of the day, he had to keep peace inside of his organization. So people didn't get fed and couldn't see God because of a system that said, no, we're not going to partner with a heathen that serves what we don't think is God. I got that. I understand that. But thousands of people did not benefit because of the system of voting in the church and how it should be done. And he had to keep the peace. Jesus upset the system. The system was, people come in there and they could sell. The Pharisees were going to benefit. That's why they let them sell around the temple and this, that, and that. But Jesus walked through and kicked everything over, and he mad because he didn't like the system. We got to hear it all out. It's so many different things that we can say on this. This is a good hot button, and I guarantee you it's going to go on for a minute. But I get it, Pastor Mike. I do understand what he's saying because it's very, 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 very important. And it's just weighing in. And I'm kind of glad we got a little hot button right because it's going to open up dialogue. I got you.
You know, when we go live and stuff, it's kind of it makes it difficult because I know copyright strikes will happen, and I tried my best to get that music out the background. Hopefully, Facebook doesn't mute that part of it because that part he was saying was very important. I wish it was a way. I tried to put in everything to try to separate it, but you guys heard what he was saying. Let me know if you can hear me because last time, it didn't go well. So type some ones and let me make sure you guys can hear what I'm saying before we get going. But I hate that. Not on Fred, a lot of people do it. They have music and everything in the background, and it's kind of hard, for us, because Facebook be tripping and you saying, "Oh God, you playing somebody's music." I ain't playing it. It's in their background. So type some ones. Let me make sure you guys can hear me before we get started. I want to make sure you guys can hear me. If I see 1-1, can you guys hear me? Type some ones. Okay, John Thomas says he can hear me. What's up, John? All right. There will be no preachers going wild tonight. And I know some of you like, oh man, he's gonna do no, that'll be Monday. I just wanted to jump on here and give my take. If you notice, I've been very, very silent on it. I haven't said a word. Everything was going on. People had their things to say. I really didn't say a word except for that one post where I said, only thing you got to do is pretty much be famous and people will defend you, be defended by people you don't even know, and they will defend you. And I say they will go to bat, they will tell people to shut up, and y'all call names and everything else, and you don't even know them personally. That must be wonderful to be famous and have that happen for you. I don't enjoy that, but it must be nice. But anyway, let me give you a little bit of history. I followed Ty Tribbett all the way back to when he had, whew, this was a while, when they had that first few albums, and one of them I remember was called Ideals and Concepts. If you're a Ty Tribbett fan, you know what I'm talking about. And I remember listening to them with some friends. They introduced me to them. And I was like, whoa, who is this? They going off. And it was Ty Tribbett and his crew. And then I later discovered that they actually played, and he himself said in the interview, if you go back and watch it, said he did play for a host of neo soul groups and the groups out of Philly and everything when he was doing R&B. So the sound kind of sounded familiar, and that warm sound or whatever, ideals and concepts. Yep, that's what it was. And I remember being a fan of his music then. I've had the pleasure of meeting Ty Tribbett personally. He came to Milwaukee and I was playing a concert for Sharon. And Sharon's a close friend of mine, Sharon Willingham. But Sharon Ann, you probably know her if you follow her on Facebook. That's a close personal friend of mine. And I was playing a concert for her and I met him then. Always a cool dude. Never was that kind of person. You know, when some people get fame and fortune or whatever, they start to change, they act funny. He was very, very down to earth, very cool. You know, I never had issues with him. And the first time I saw them live, I was amazed. And more so than the performance, I was amazed at how cool most of them were. Almost all of them were very, very cool. And so I was like, man, I'm enjoying them. I like them. And so I remember one time in particular that made me actually really, really become a fan of him personally. I forgot what we were. I was with Ricky, and it was a mishap in the lineup. You know how those things change. Sometimes you suppose a headline, they say, oh, well, you got to go up now. So it was one of those snafus. So we're on stage, we're hooking up, Brent's hooking up and everything. And the bass player literally walks to me like this far, no, literally, like right to me and was like, yeah, we next. And I was like, okay, that was kind of jacked up. And I was like, dude, you didn't, the way he came up, like, yeah, I'm playing for Ty Tribbett, we next. And I'm sitting up here like, dude, it's not that serious. Okay, I'm going. And Ty literally came up to me when I was walking off the stage because I was really, really ticked off. That was the growth process. Derek had to learn not to let his anger get the best of him so much because when I was younger, especially when I first started with New G, I was a firecracker. Every little thing, I'm going off. I'm going off. I'm going off. I'm going off. Some people can attest to that. They've I used to be a firecracker, but I would think I was during my metamorphosis when I was trying to mature. And so, but when I came off the stage, Ty Tribbett came to me and was like, man, man, my bad on that, man. He should know better, man. No disrespect to you. And I had respect for him because most people be like, yeah, we going up on stage, let's do it. He took the time to change his trajectory to get on stage to come to me because I guess he saw the whole thing transpire. And so he came to me and said that, and that kind of made me be like, well, pause. But that kind of made me be like, okay, he's really a really good dude. So I'm saying all this to say, in no way am I going to attack him personally. I have the utmost respect for Ty, the utmost respect for him on a personal level. So if we are here to have a discussion on what was said, not personally, I will not attack his personal life. I will not talk about him personally. So if that's what you're looking for, you're in the wrong place. We will have a discussion about what he said. And it caused a host of conversations. I saw your posts. Y'all, some people were calling them reprobate and everything. I'm like, good Lord, y'all took this to another level. I got some religious fanatics on my timeline. I'm not going to kick you off. You are allowed to speak your mind on your page. But don't make no mistake about it. I was kind of side eyeing some of you because you were going a little bit too far. It's not that serious. But he did go to the Breakfast Club and he did make some remarks that it resonated throughout the Black church in particular. It resonated. Things that I saw before I even played this video, things that I saw. When I was coming up, people, they used to call me church boy. When I was in high school before I started to thug out, they would call me church boy. My brother and I, they would call me, hey, Miss Lynn. They would call me church boy. They was so they was kind of shocked when I called myself out here thugging and banging out here. They was like, really, you? I didn't see this coming. but they called us church boy, and they had so much respect for myself, my brother, and another guy that we were used to be, and they used to have prayer groups up in school. My brother and his friend used to have prayer groups in high school. They never really messed with us. They called us church boys for the most part. And one of the things that they never did, they never cussed in front of us. They never said any derogatory things. They kind of, like, if one of them kind of slipped, they'd be like, man, chill out, man, not around them. So it was that kind of respect. Because we weren't even preachers. I think my brother was a preacher, and I think his friend was a preacher, but I wasn't a preacher. I was just a musician. But at that time, they called me church boy. And so I kind of looked and said, man, they can have respect for people. I don't think that exists. It doesn't exist. It does not exist now. Because even in this interview, if you watch the full thing, they was dropping some bombs. And some of the things that they were saying should not have been said in front of a person who demonstrates himself, who I've always seen demonstrating himself to be a believer. But the stuff that they were saying was kind of like, whoa, but see, you are in their domain. If for nothing else, that should show you you're not amongst friends here. You are in their domain. You are in the devil's den at that point. Because if they can say some of the stuff that they were saying in the cavalier way that they said it, then you're not amongst friends. And it's one thing to be amongst sinners. But it's one thing to be amongst sinners who want to hear you with the hopes of repenting. It's another thing to be amongst unbelievers, and they wild, and they don't care that they're wild. That's a whole nother thing. And so right then and there is every red flag saying, okay, I got to play this very, very delicately. And the things that I really want to say, I might not be wise to say it here because I'm not amongst friends. I'm not amongst friends. They've shown me what they are about. So that was the first thing. Then somebody said something about smoking weed and all that kind of junk. Right then, that was the second one. I'm like, okay, you're not amongst friends. And see, Miss Lynn had me go back and watch. She sent me the video and told me to watch the video, and I did. And after I watched, because y'all, you gotta watch the whole video. You gotta watch the whole video. So I did. But see, here's the thing. Those of you who've never been formally educated, then you don't know how to understand that there was context before and context after. Those of us who have been formally educated, you're not going to read a book this thick, especially in the master's program. Books come this thick. No, you got to find out a way to condense it. You got to find out a way and be good at conceptualizing and actually finding context, even if you don't have much. And so I've learned how to do that. And those of us who have been educated, we know how to do that, whether it was in theology school, seminary, or whatever. You learned how to do that. So I really didn't need to watch the whole video, but I did. Because I didn't want to, I didn't want to act harshly and say anything. Because, y'all fans, I'm trying to be, think about your feelings. Feelings? Whoa, 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 feelings. So we're going to play this video. I may stop it because it's something I want to see if you heard it while you telling us, what's the whole video? It was something in that clip because I got the clip. I'm not going to play the whole video. It's 49 minutes. Are you freaking kidding me? But I do got the clip. Let's go.
It's a system now. Oh God. It's a system. Everything is a system, and systems work with or without God. So I think the institution of church is whack. I think how church is ran is whack. I think the religious system and structure is whack. I don't subscribe to it, even though I grew up in it, I benefited from it, but I learned that God is not the church. And once I realized, whoa, God ain't church. That for me, you know what I mean? I ain't from the streets, I'm from the church. So that was a huge thing as well.
It's in the Bible, though. It says you can't even find God in a man-made temple.
Why don't we read that, though?
I got to stop it here. Those of us who are believers, we already know God ain't in the church. Me, I'm going to be honest. Now, tonight, I'm going to be a little bit more transparent. When I was in my day, when I was like calling myself to be this militant new convert into Hebrew Israelism, it made me cringe when people say, your spirit is in this place, your spirit is in this place, it used to make me cringe to hear them say that. Because in my mind, I'm like, no, that's the spirit is in you. It ain't in this place. I used to think that. It made me cringe. Sometimes, being honest, it's still that little residue of what that militant, that legalistic person that used to exist. It revs his head every now and then, because I'm like, when you spend so much time trying to usher in something that's already in you. So to me, it's kind of redundant. The spirit is already in you. So you don't need that whole lot of time to say, come in, come in, come in, come in, come in. And I'm like, I thought he was here already. Because when you walked in the building, it was in you. So you don't need to have this invocation for something that's already here. That's the militant side of me. The other side of me is like, I understand. I'm not judging people. They're doing what they have good hearts. They're doing what they know. The system. That thing is the system. So when he said that, I was like, okay, I get it. I get it. But when the other guy stepped in and totally blew apart that scripture, the Bible doesn't say that. It said he no longer dwells in temples made with the hands of men. And Stephen in the book of Acts was speaking to those because he saw these whole things and he had to explain to them that situation. And I agree. What happened to Stephen when he said that, though? What happened to Stephen? Let me see, because I'm going to test your Bible knowledge tonight. What happened to Stephen in the book of Acts when he said that to those people? The God is no longer, he said some other things. What happened to Stephen? Somebody write that down real fast. Let me see how good you are in the Bible. Since we all want to say what Ty Tribbett said was right or wrong, that means you have a little bit of Bible knowledge, right? So somebody tell me, what happened to Stephen when he finished reading these people their rights in the book of Acts? I'm going to wait. I have no Bible scholars here. No Bible scholars. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed. I know I got some ministers here. What happened to Stephen? He was stoned. Thank you, Nina. He was stoned. How many of you are willing to be stoned for telling that truth? Because one thing I know, the system that Ty is speaking about is not weak. It's not a weak thing. The system is the system. But we're going to talk about the system. But are you strong enough are you willing enough to take the stones that are going to come your way? Because after Ty said this, there were stones thrown at his way. Are you willing? Whether you feel he was right or wrong, are you willing to take those stones and stand on what you said? Some of us are not. We just like to type and say stuff or whatever. You don't think when I get on live and I say some things, I know I'm gonna hear it from some of y'all and maybe my mom or maybe the bishop. Yeah, but some things you need to say and stand flat foot and say it. So yeah, Ty said this thing. I did not like the dude jumping in. The thing is, the devil's crafty. Why? Because the devil knows the scriptures probably more than us. And he will manipulate you and play this thing along. And you need to be able to pick that up and say, okay, I don't need your commentary right here. You know, I'm the one that's ministering here. But see, that's the craftiness of it. But you got to watch the rest of it. Let's go.
How often do you hear that sermon? No, you hear pastors make the people about the church. We got the church name, we church and the bumper sticker, the church. The church should be about the people. The church should be about the people, but the church makes the people about the church. So all churches now are a movement, but they're not about the people. They're not about serving and loving the.
Did you catch it? Did you catch what he said? Did he say some? Did he say most? Or did he say all? Did he say some? Did he say most? Did he say a lot? Or did he say all? I think I heard all. I think he said all churches. That's what I heard. He said all. So for those of you who want to get on here and say, he's not talking, he said all. There is no other word. All means totality. That means everything. That means the whole encompassing thing. All. So if you think you are excluded, no. He said all churches. And that's what I'm going to deal with. He said all.
People. Yeah. What do y'all look for when you go to a church? What do y'all look for? Like you said, everyone don't touch your soul, don't minister to your spirit.
It's not about what I look for, it's about what I feel.
Got it.
It's a feeling, you know what I mean? Like you just,
I know what you mean.
Some people just speak to your soul. Like, you know, I think Sarah Jakes right now, man,
She's
at least for me,
she's talking to you. I love.
You see where this is going? The Bible's not meant to, the people shouldn't speak to your soul. It's not about a feeling. It's not. And that's the issue. That's the issue. We come to church for a feeling, not to be empowered, not to be edified, not to be corrected, not to even be guided. We come for a feeling. So what does feeling mean? If you say something that I like and I agree with, I love your speaking. If it's encouraging me and lifting me up and telling me to go on and go forth and push forward, then I like it. But the second I tell you something you doing is not right, oh, they judgmental at that church. I don't like that church. Oh, all they do is beat up on people. They sitting people down. I don't like that church. So you don't like that church. So guess what? Anger is a feeling. Sadness is a feeling. Embarrassment is a feeling. But you only want happiness. These are the people you are around that you are sharing this with. You are giving your pearls to swine. I'm not against what he was saying, but look at the people you are around. I'm going for a feeling. The same dude that didn't have a problem cussing in front of you said, I go to church for a feeling. If you don't go, I don't want amens. Keep your amens in your wallet. I want you to learn something, and you need to be able to hear. Because we walk around blind. That's why this thing, y'all scratch the surface. But it goes deeper.
Like all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
So
even when I'm just listening to her podcast, so I just think some people have an anointing on them for the moment that we are in. And just like her father had it and still has it, you know, I think she has it for the current moment that we're in.
Word.
And then another thing, so growing up in a church where, you know, I'm so used to that back in the day. Like, for instance, I don't want to go to a big church because the pastor don't know me. The pastor don't know. I'm used to going to talk to the pastor after church, going to get that individual prayer, going to tell him what I'm struggling with and all that. As a teenager, I was going through a lot of things, you know what I mean? So I would be able to go and talk to my uncle. He is the bishop, like go and talk to him and stuff like that. But I've gone to churches where, you know, pastor don't even know you, and he not even tripping off getting to know nobody. You know what I'm saying? He just come and he do his thing. They sing a whole album before he start the sermon.
Only one album?
Yes, right? You shout. I see people shouting. I see, you know, all of that, and that's what I'm used to too. Because you know, I can cut a little real in the church.
Okay.
You know? I start coming from there.
Okay.
You know?
Shout?
And then absolutely not.
I grew up Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
So I ain't start going to church till later.
Got you.
Too grown for that Holy
Ain't
Ghost.
going around knocking on the doors. Hey.
I'm too grown for the Holy Ghost. I'm too grown for the Holy Ghost. You can't make this up. You just absolutely cannot. I'm not laughing. At that point, I'm looking like, I'm gonna be disturbed. I'm like, maybe amongst people I grew up with and people I'm cool with, I'm not sure if he knows them, and if he is, that's cool. But me personally, in that moment, and I'm on this bigger stage, I'm like, oh, this is a setup. I'm being set up. That's what I would think. I'm like, I'm being set up right now. And it ain't the powers that be that are setting me up. They may be, but I'm being set up by the most craftier of the crafty. That enemy is very, very crafty. Very much so. You're being set up because you said that, it opened up the door and said, I can tell you about what I don't like about church and pastors and stuff like that and everything. I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. But now you're hearing these stories. After saying that, somebody said it before, and some of you alluded to it. After hearing that, you make people that don't want to go to church be like, see, this is why I don't go. That's what you said. Religion over relationship over religion. Relationship over religion. Relationship. I've heard that so much, I promise you my head could explode. My head could explode. Relationship over religion. Okay.
Doing her, you know,
He said too
all
grown for
that.
that Holy Ghost.
Saturday,
Yeah.
a lot of that be performative.
Yeah, no,
sometimes.
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm
You
talking
ain't got
about.
time for that, but you got time to walk down every block and knock on
Every
everybody's
block.
door, handing a pamphlet. Sir,
Every Saturday.
Yeah, man, nobody got time for that.
And too early. Y'all come too early. If you came around noon, it'll be all right.
So yeah, the personal, personal has been lost. You know what I mean? And then it becomes to the point where the like I said, the pastor feel like he's God.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
New churches and
that's what I meant by churches is whacking. Because I know I went on religious whack, and people, church people probably like, Ty, you just in my church last week.
Yeah,
I don't mean that. I mean that stuff right there.
Yeah,
and what it's become. I have found it.
Okay. Now, he did say in the end, that's what he was talking about. But we did hear him say all. So I ask you, are all churches like that where the pastor, you can't speak to him? Even in mega churches. I happen to play at a church that would probably considered mega. And Bishop pretty much knows a lot of his people. Sometimes we be gone, we be playing, you know, at the service or we're leaving. But I literally see him running around, speaking to people, taking pictures and all of that. So every mega church is not like that. And if your pastor is not like that, then I can see that. I can see that. But it started a whole, the conversation is just ridiculous. Like some of the things that I've heard said, I was like, okay, I'm going to cover it. And then I'm not going to wait till Monday. I'm not going to wait till Monday. So he said, and I quote, I got it down. Let me get to my notes. Y'all know me. I think I need glasses, y'all. Your boy getting old. I need glasses now. First thing he said, systems work, whether God is there or not. Systems work, whether God is there or not. Is that true? I'm going to be asking you. Now, I did leave the link. If you want to jump on, just come on here. Let's do it. The link is there for a reason. You want to jump on, just click on it. I see you. You can jump on here. Now, let me ask you a question. Do systems work, whether the system, you know, this system, the church system, will it work if God is not there or not? That's my question. You can answer it. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think. Matter of fact, I'm going to do it now. How is it that we believe that God can create the heavens and the earth? He can move mountains. He can cause mountains to fall. He can bring down giants. He can make aliens float and flow away. He can do all these things, but he can't disrupt the system that's built without him, that is hurting the least of these, which are young believers. I don't believe that the system like that will work if God is not there. If you notice, if you look throughout history, even in the church, every time a preacher or something like that got too high and mighty, what happened? We find these scandals, something that happened. The church membership will drop and everything else. God doesn't sit back and just let this stuff just go totally chaotic before he steps in and say, okay, enough. I'm going to do it myself. I don't believe that system because it's too dangerous. It's too important for God to sit back and say, no, I'm just going to let y'all destroy my body. I don't believe that. In my heart of hearts, I don't believe God will let this system stand if it was so chaotic to the point that we're losing everybody. Even young people or people who have a desire and never known God before. I don't believe that. Do you? I don't believe God, as benevolent as he is and as wise as he is and all-knowing as he is, would allow a system to the same people who built the system and said, we're going to make a tower to go all the way to heaven. So the God that looked at that and said, oh, no, you not, will let his body of thousands and thousands and millions of believers just go into total implosion because of a system. I believe before that happened, it'll be Babylon again. That's just my belief. That's not qualifiable, or it can't be quantified. That's just my opinion. Now, I want you to say what you think. Now, I got this thing open. If you want to come on here, just come on here. First thing he said, the institution of church is whack. The institution of church. That's what he said. That's the part that got y'all all riled up. Move out the way, Footer. Now, let's get to the point what institution means. Institution is a humanly devised structure of rules and norms that shape and constrain individual behavior. These are the rules. The institution of church, these are the rules that go in church. The rules, the social conventions, the norms. Those are examples. So now that you know what institution is, the institution of church is the structure, the rules. Now, are there some churches where the rules are over the top? Yes. But does it mean all churches are like that? No, I don't believe most of them are like that. You have a few where the rules and the norms and the structure is just totally whack. So what is an example of that? A woman gets pregnant and the rules of the church says she needs to sit down for 9 months. That's the institution. You know, they say you need to sit down. You can't do it. But the musician or the man, he gets to still operate. That's whack. That is something that I would say, yeah, that's whack. That happens too. That's whack. How certain people get away with stuff because of who they are, because they tithers or whatever. That's whack too. I don't call it an institution, but it absolutely does happen. You know, those are things. There are other things that I won't touch because I don't want to mess with y'all, y'all churches. But there are some institutions of church. Sunday school. Here's the thing. You can think you're not in the institute of church, but if you go to church on Sunday morning and y'all have an order of service and it does the same thing, the liturgy is there, praise and worship, prayer, whatever, and you are there certain times, certain week you do something, then you got prayer this day, and you do certain prayers in the way that this church will say. Like some churches you go to, they got a special way that they greet you. That is an institution. That's the church. That's what you do. That's the culture. Which leads me to the second thing. He said, the religious system and structure is whack. That's the religious system and structure is whack. Do you know what religion is? That brings me when I said religion versus relationship versus religion. Religion is like a cultural system. It's a belief system. It's a belief in the spiritual being. It's a system. And guess what? In that system, if it has rules, like you can't be a Christian and don't believe in Jesus. That's part of it. You can't be a Christian and don't do some of the things that they tell you to do. You can't, I don't know any Christians that can get up here and say, well, I fornicate every day and everything. Nobody would say, nah, you're a Christian. They would look at you like crazy. No, that goes against the rules. I'm a Christian, but I kill people. I'm a Christian, but I steal from people. I'm a Christian, do all this stuff. These are the rules that go along in that belief system. That is a system. So when people say you have a relationship, how can you have a relationship without the religion? Because your relationship with God will lead you down those same things that are found in the book that you're supposed to read. And that book contains everything in this system. So when you say I have a relationship, you cannot have a relationship without the religion of Christianity. It's the belief system. So stop playing on words. Oh, I don't have religion. It's a belief system. Everybody in this world is not a Christian. There are some people who have a belief system that's Islam. They have people that belief system is Buddhism or Hinduism. That's a belief system. You have a certain thing for a cultural system. Now, make no mistake about it. The culture for Christianity, especially in the Old Testament, was for the Hebrews. If that ain't culture, I don't know what is. Everything that you read in the Old Testament is for Hebrew culture. The way that they did things. How do I know? I took Jewish history in college, kind of know some of this stuff. It's the way they went about doing things. It was their belief system. Yahweh is Hebrew. Yahweh, that's Hebrew. But you can't say I have a relationship and toss away the religion. It makes no sense. So I always scratch my head, let the dandruff fall when y'all get on here and say, I got relationship over religion. I'm like, you know what you're saying? God is not going to go against what's already written in the word in scripture. So if you are just totally throwing this out, then I got to question if you really have a relationship because you ignorant to what's written here. So you're going to go contrary to what the book is saying because you say, I have relationship and not religion. Some of the religious practices are not religious practices. They're called dogma and doctrine. So you don't know. These are just cliches and stuff like that. Now, that part of it is whack. But we spend so much time trying to usher in something that's already there that we don't seek God for the one thing that you should get. Two things I think are important: discernment and wisdom. Discernment and wisdom. We don't ask God for that. Well, we need your power. We need your presence. I want God to teach me. I want discernment, I want wisdom, because wisdom will help me guide me. And of course I want God to guide me. But the wise person knows God should guide you. But y'all want presence. Y'all want feelings. And even demons want feelings. I don't want feelings. I want empowerment. I want to be a better person than I was yesterday. I want to grow. I want somebody else to grow. I don't want to be around a bunch of people who can't even pick themselves by the book and say, God got me. You're so in despair because you don't feel him. But guess what? Most of the time you won't feel him. You won't feel him because you need to know him. And knowing ain't feeling. You know you love somebody whether you feel it or not. That's what that really should be about. But we so busy worried about our feelings and feeling good and everything else. I don't care about your feelings because weak people cry just like strong people. But strong people cry and keep moving. Weak people just give up. You both got feelings? I don't care about feelings. One thing I saw, church structure is funny. A lot of people don't like church structure. Personally, I'm more of I like when it's organic. What do you mean by organic? The early century church didn't have leaders like that. They didn't have leaders that called shots. The elders were pretty much like teachers and rabbis and guiders. They were the ones that, they were leaders. They were the ones everybody looked to for leadership. But they didn't lead like that. Go do this, go do that. We doing this, we doing that. That's not the way it was ran. It was more organic, and everybody had equal responsibilities, and people were given responsibilities based on the gifts that they had. For example, somebody was good with money, you did this. Somebody was good at serving people, you did this. I was good at teaching, you can do that. But it was organic, and nobody was bumping heads and trying to figure out who was top dog. Down the line, it changed. Now, make no mistake about it. The time you got off that slave ship, you knew nothing of the organic church. Your ancestors knew nothing of the organic church, where it was just fellowship. People came together and they loved each other, which is the reason why Christianity grew so fast. People looked at that and said, wow, y'all knew nothing of that. From the time you got off that boat, it was structured. It was the structure that he's talking about. But that structure looked something like this. The church structure was like this. Pastor, then maybe assistant pastor. Now you got youth, and everybody came under it, right? That structure looks close to what you would see in any organization. And guess what? This is an unavoidable reality here. There is not a church you can go to here where it's not set up this way. I ain't seen it, where the pastor is not over everything and everybody just under him. I ain't seen it. And here's the thing. One of the things that made me scratch my head about what Ty said, he was talking about that. But in that structure now that we don't like, there's always a pastor, but then it's like senior pastor. Because now this senior pastor is over everybody, right? Right? The senior pastor is over everybody, right? So the senior pastor is the one you see. He said it's about the people, but if you go to their website, you don't see people. The first thing you see is what? The senior pastors. So I took a little vision over to his church and I saw this. And I said, that looks remotely close to a structure. Senior pastors is like over everybody. It's back to this structure right here. The senior pastor's over everybody. So the structure that you say is whack, aren't you not doing it? I'm just saying, you said it's whack, but your structure is set up the same way. Even when you go to, where is it? Even when you look at this, these are the members. When you got live production, you got kids, you got hosts, you got all this stuff. They answer to, guess who? That structure. So you are in essence doing what you said is whack. All these people answer to you. They're not organic. They can't work autonomously. They all answer to one person, and that's the structure. I know y'all weren't ready for that. And I'm not calling them a hypocrite. I'm just saying. I saw this and I thought it was interesting because is this not structure? Is this not? And here's the thing. I'm not saying nothing wrong with it. It's unavoidable here. Especially if you're a big church like that, it's going to be unavoidable. It's unavoidable. I'm not saying it's whack. Now, the pastor running it could be whack and make it the whole thing whack, but this is unavoidable. So if you say the structure is wrong and everybody say because the pastor, whatever, but this essentially is this. It's essentially the same thing. So when I look at this and I said, the thing that bothered me the most was that when I went here and I looked, you are doing the same thing. The messages, the way you run it, you are the pastor, you are setting up a structure. So for you to say the system is whack, you're doing that. The structure is whack, you're doing that. Religious system and the way the church is ran, every church that I've been to is ran this same way. So those of us who criticized this statement, we are looked at and said, whoa, now me personally, I just thought it was weird that you set up your structure this way, but some people was ripping it apart. And he did not say the church was whack. He didn't say that, but the parts he said was whack, I just dealt with that. But here's the biggest issue. If we are going to tear, one of my friends, I'm mad I didn't get it. He said, imagine being on a witness stand, your witness, you are on trial. And the person that was supposed to be testifying on your behalf gets up and testifies and calls you whack and said all this stuff, negative stuff about you. Do you think that helps your case? Because he said this and I agree, almost every day Christ is being on trial. The church is on trial. And the testimony that we should put on, we don't go to the other side and say, that's whack. There may be some things we could address. I love church. And I will never go there and do that. And I think to all y'all fans, that was the issue that most of my people had. They didn't care about him saying church was whack because you can come in for the people and tell them everything we doing is wrong. The biggest issue they had is that you went to this platform in front of these heathens and then you said that and you laughed and joked with it. Them saying, then I didn't get it here, but then they said, I don't go to church. I watch the stream. I do all of that. The Bible is clear. We are supposed to fellowship with each other, and in the internet don't count. That doesn't count. We're supposed to fellowship. Yes, there is a system. Yes, there is structure. And yes, sometimes where the church is ran, it's not perfect, but we are imperfect vessels. So you have to find a way or go to a church where you can better associate with what's going on there. But you are giving fuel to those people who say, I don't want to go to church. I'm one of those people that say, yeah, I can know God. And I was one of those people. But the church introduced me to him. And I can't take that for granted. Because had I not grown up in church and been to church, I wouldn't even know what God to serve. Because there are many gods out here. There are many gods. But I knew from the teaching, from the institutional church, what God was. I knew the stories of the Bible when I was young. That's institutional church, Sunday school. That's institutional. I learned how to carry myself as a young man, YPWW. That's institutional. Some of the great things that I learned and kept me rooted even when I wanted to go out, I learned in the institutional church. So it's no way I can say that that's whack. Just like the Jews can call the law whack. We have a new covenant, but that's not to get rid of the old covenant and said it was whack. The old covenant introduced us to the new covenant. So if we don't understand the old covenant and have respect for the old covenant, then we can't even embrace the new covenant that was given to us. The law was perfect. We were not. The law was perfect. We were not. If God made church institutional and people believe that, then maybe, just maybe, that was perfect, but we are not perfect, and we made the perfect imperfect. So maybe we're moving into a different dispensation as it relates to the church. But in no way can I ever call that whack. That is the schoolmaster. Some of the things I wish we still did in the old church. Because in the new church, we don't respect the church at all. We don't respect nothing in there. We don't respect sacred. We don't respect our elders. We don't respect nothing. So if the church is whack, the imperfect people made this church whack. So maybe the church doesn't need examination. Maybe it's us that needs the examination. That's the way I would approach it. I'm imperfect. It's some things that Derek do even to this day that makes me be like, what the heck is wrong with you? I can't then say Powerhouse is whack. If Bishop was to call me and say, what are you doing? Sit down. You can no longer lead. I'm going to get mad? No. Derek is the one imperfect. And I see that's what's really happening. And I'm about to leave. I didn't want this to be long anyway. But that's the biggest fear I got. Because it's so easy to say the church is whack. It's so easy. And I'm not, listen, me and Ty, we in agreement on a lot of that. But I don't want you to think, some of you just looking for any reason to not go to church. Any reason. Any reason. And I don't know why. Well, kind of do, but we need to do some self-examination. And it starts with this person right here. I used to be that person to say his church is whack. But as I wised up, I understood. It was Derek that veered from the teaching that I was getting. Some of it was legalistic. Some of it was, Pharisaic and a lot of that. But for the most part, I looked at what I learned from the church, and I'm not going to say it was whack. Politics in church, that's going to happen from day one. Paul and Peter did not get along. They wanted the system, even in the first century. Peter wanted these people to be circumcised. Paul said no. The system, which was Peter, said they need to follow these laws with us. Paul said no. But they came to an agreement, and nowhere, well, actually there are some writings, but for the most part, they kind of worked together because they saw the bigger picture, and they didn't go around tearing each other down that you know of. So that's the biggest thing that bothered me, because I've read a lot of your posts, and I don't like the fact that it turned into something that divided us more. Some of you agreed, some of you didn't. But I saw the way we spoke to each other regarding it. We shouldn't speak to each other like that. Shut up. You stupid. Y'all dumb. For what? We're all believers. Just because we don't agree on something doesn't mean we need to act that way. What has happened to the body that we feel like we can talk to each other in this way? Because through it all, we're supposed to exhibit the love of Christ to each other, even if we don't agree. We can disagree and still be like, I don't agree with that, but that's cool. I just had a discussion with one of my friends who, we talked about Trump. And we kind of went back and forth with it. I still love him like my brother. We just have a difference of opinion on something. Why can't this be that same way? Why can't we, some of us that agree with Ty, just because you like his music, look, I never will play for him. He ain't calling me. But I hope that he would hear that I'm not going at him. I love him. But if we disagree with something somebody did and we criticize that, that doesn't mean that we don't love you. And it doesn't mean we shouldn't become enemies off of that. That's exactly what this was set up to do. It was set up to divide us more and bring this rift bigger and bigger, from the people who say we should go to church to the people who say we don't. And whereas we should just be like, I don't feel like we need to do it. I don't feel like we need to do it. We both love God. We both are trying to live this thing the best way it can. Let's come together and see. We just need to fellowship. Let's just fellowship. I mean, for crying out loud, when the last time y'all actually fellowship with each other? When you didn't, you just came together and enjoyed each other's company. I work a job during the day, and it's a child care job that I love so much. And one of the things that I love about it is like a family. You could be sitting there and then some people roll in with some food. And we'll sit there and we just laugh it up and have a good time. That's a family. That's another reason why I won't leave there. One of many, but it's still. Because it's a family. It's a family oriented. And I feel more family. This is going to blow your mind. I feel more family in my secular job than I do sometimes where I worship. That's weird. That's not the way it should be. And believe it or not, they took communion a lot because it wasn't the system. The system of communion says take it first Sunday or take it every other week, and you do it with these little wafers and everything. That's the system. I don't take communion for a host of reasons, but I don't take it. But that's the system. But the real biblical way, they just ate and broke bread together. That part, I'm about to teach you something. That part where it said you eat and drinking unworthily, when the system of church that I grew up said you need to be saved to eat it. That's fine if you believe that. The commentaries in the books that I've read said no. What was happening was there were people who had money, they were well-to-do, and they were able to come to where they were meeting. They met often. They gathered together often. And what was happening was they were coming and eating up all the food. And so when the people who had to work got to the fellowship, it wasn't much to eat. And they ate it all. They gluttoned and ate it all. So Paul wrote to address that. You are eating, you are profaning this thing. It's supposed to be fellowship between brothers and sisters in Christ. Not because you're rich, you can come and eat up everything first. The system says you can't eat this. This says you eat and drinking unworthily. I wish, download some commentaries, people. Please download some commentaries and read what was really happening. That was what was really happening. But that's the system. Does it make it right or wrong? If that's the system, I just taught you what it was. Now, because I know this and other things, I don't really participate. Am I going to other people, y'all taking communion, y'all going to hell? That's not right, that's not. No, because I love these people. And if they want to take communion, it's not hurting me. Take it. I hope you guys learned something. I've been on here 57 minutes. Nobody want to jump on here and give their words. I was hoping one of y'all come on here. One day, somebody's going to jump on here. Hey, Keisha, I didn't see you say nothing. I was probably in my teaching mode. Now you know how to shake the building. That's true. We all know how to shake the building. But if nobody has anything that they want to say, that's fine. I'm going to jump off of here. But I just wanted you guys to hear my heart on it. And again, I love Ty. I don't think he said anything wrong. I just wish he would have done it there. Me personally, everybody say, well, Derek, you're a preacher. You're a preacher. I don't see it, but you say it, okay. But I believe the prophets that come to your church And many of them have come to the church and say, no more church as usual. No more church as usual. How many times have you heard that? I've heard them say that, no more church as usual. The organic church, I don't think will happen here because a lot of you don't know what it means. You need to do more research on what the organic church was. It was not the way we do it now. I'm not saying this wrong. This is what we have. This is what all you know. This is all, yeah. Yeah, it was said. Jeremy, what do you mean when you say this year? I mean, TJ, you can jump on here if you want to. I want you to jump on. I'll wait. If you want to jump on here, I'll give you the floor. You can say what you got to say. We can have this conversation. But me, I'm done. I said what I needed to say. I don't think he was wrong, but I'm not going to do it there. I promise you I'm not going to do it there. He did what he felt like he needed to say or whatever, but when you talk about church structure, you can't avoid it. That's my point. You can't avoid it. You are senior pastor. You have a structure. That's the church structure. It's going to be ran pretty much the same way. And let me say this: those of you who said you don't like the structure of the church and everything else, I saw some pastors that said that. Yeah, let me go here with you. So let me get this straight. You don't like the structure of the church. You hate it. You find it whack. Do you find it whack when they give you a special parking place in the parking lot where we who get there on time, we got to park up the street and walk up the street, but you get this special place because of who you are? You finding that whack or you enjoying it? You ain't saying it's whack. You not saying, oh, no, I'm going to park and walk like everybody else. You going to park your crusty behind up in the parking lot and get your special park. They're going to move the cone for you, whatever they do, and they're going to walk you in there. Do you call it whack when they walk you in like you a dignitary and walk you all the way up to the front of the church where you can sit and be happy? Do you find that part whack? Do you find it whack when you come in the building and everybody stand up? Do you find that whack? Do you find it whack that you get juices and pastries and everybody else got a thirst? Do you find that whack? I should never see some of you pastors. I was going to call you up on it, but I was like, unbelievable. I've literally seen you benefit from this structure and not see. Ty said he benefited, and he did. He benefited because I remember the fire and brimstone Ty Tribbett. And he benefited that. And I say it's like the drug dealer thing. When the drug dealers, when they say, man, I was dealing drugs, I was making $3 million a month, man, and then I gave my life to Christ. But did you get all that money away? No. No, that's just a joke. But no, you ain't giving that money back. But you benefited, yes. But some of these people still benefit from something they call whack. I got musicians saying, oh, our best whack. You play in a mega church. You probably make over $10,000 a month. And you mean to tell me that now it's whack? Then quit your job. Leave it. Denounce it. Don't do it no more. Blow it all up and read some books on the organic church. Give up your position. Give up your notoriety and share it equally with everybody. See, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And that's the part that kind of drives me crazy. So let's not be hypocrites out here. If you benefit from the system, you can't call it whack. If you're a pastor and you're getting paid a healthy salary, you can't then call it whack. You benefit from this system because everybody looks to you. And even if you say, no, they don't look to me, you are the face. So when you say my members, you in the system. If you say, come join my church and be a member, you in the system. If you have all these auxiliaries under you, you are in the system. Why? Because Peter and Paul didn't have any auxiliaries under them. None of them did. It came later. Matter of fact, you knew nothing of it till you got here. When the second you open your eyes to the world, you were in the system. If you joined the church. Because if they wrote your name physically and they stored it somewhere, and anywhere you see them say, you give your money and you get a tax return, that's a system. That is a system. If you give your money somewhere and they say you can get a tax refund or you can write it off on your taxes, That's a system. That's an organization. It's not organic. If people come to my home and we worship and we praise God and they go home, that's it. I'm not going to name it. There's no LLCs. There's no special bank accounts. That's a system. It's unavoidable. So if it's whack, denounce it. Give it all up and just meet in the homes, and that's it. No more names, no more logos, no more branding, none of that. See, you don't think that much. I understand. I love you guys. Okay, nobody wants to join. That's fine. I'm about to jump off of here. Did you guys enjoy what I had to say? Anybody have any questions before I jump off? Anybody have any questions? I'll read your questions and I'll answer them since I got a little time before this game starts. Hopefully Milwaukee can pull out this one tonight. They've been struggling lately. They've been struggling. I'll give you a second. But if not, okay, so Monday I will be back. It's a couple of things I want. Yes, I did see that video about Mike Todd. Okay, ask your questions. I answer them, Shanette. I answer them for right now. It's Friday, so I answer them. I answer a couple. But yeah, I saw the video with Mike Todd, and I got a couple of videos I want to show you. But I want to ask you this question real quick. Do you think illustrations in church, how far out there do you think they should be? What's the acceptable? Thank you, Jarrell. Thank you so much. What's the acceptable level of demonstrations? And I'm not going to give away my show for Preachers Going Wild Monday, but I will say this. I actually like the way Mike Todd does his props. I do. I enjoy them. I know some of y'all going to be like, what? But I enjoy them. I mean, my attention span ain't so high these days. You know, when you've been in school majority of your life and you've been in college and you've been reading book after book and studying, you kind of want to, you know, my attention span is not that long. I think my kids at the school got longer attention span than me sometimes. My attention span will go. But do you think Mike Todd? I like it. I like the way they set the stage. Sometimes they set it to look like a living room. Sometimes they set it to look like something else. I like it. I absolutely like it. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing because we're like children. Children, one thing I know about children, you can go whoop, 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 and the child, la, 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 la. We're like children in that regard. They can throw up something in a prop or whatever, and we'll like it. Me personally, I don't have too much of a problem with it. The snot slob thing, that was too much. That was too much. You say Mike. Yeah, Damon, I believe that too. I like Mike Todd. I mean, just like Ty, he's going to say some things. Whoa, let me go back. Some of you believe Ty Tribbett did this thing to sell tickets for his tour. Some of you believe that. I find that fascinating. I'm not saying I disagree. I'm not saying I agree. But I find that fascinating that y'all said he would do this right before a tour. Because it kind of blows up, because unless he's having these gigs or whatever, and I probably will go to one because I love his music. I love Ty. But to do that and then go to a church and have your concert, that would be a little bit too much for me. Let me see. So you know how they have tonight's conversation tours, right? I would love to see you with a panel of people doing something like that, because real talk, you have a word that both men and women need to hear. I would love to do that. I have been asked to do a few guest appearances on some podcasts. It's just that my schedule is so crazy, you know, because I'm like at Powerhouse and then I work a day job and I help out a friend in his IT things. And it's like my time is just so limited. So the only time I can jump on is kind of late at night. And most of them are during the day and whatever. Now, my day job, they're very lenient. They understand that I have other professions, but I have a responsibility to them. And I wouldn't want to, you know, leave them hanging, because I'm the only IT guy there right now. So if something goes down, they need me, you know, and I take that very seriously. but I have been asked to do a few podcasts, especially relationship podcasts, and I enjoy doing that. And if I can get one, when our time can, link up or lock up, then I would love to do it. I would love to do it because I enjoy talking. Y'all think I'll be just wigging, but I love talking that relationship stuff. It's like it's like you ever know when you know kind of moments. It's just certain things like clockwork. I picked up about this thing, like some of the way men move, some of the way women move, and some of the stuff that I've been seeing. I'm like, that's crazy, but I kind of understand a lot. And so people love to hear my takes on it. And it's been working. I enjoy listening to you do relationship topics. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. You know I love you. You know I love you. You know what? Shanette is a day oneer though. She's been with me from day one. And I appreciate that. But I'm about to jump off of here, y'all. I'm about to watch the rest of this game. Hopefully everything works out well for you. Monday, we will do our show. It is something I do want to cover. Some of y'all came from your brother's throat. Man, y'all came from your brother's throat. Y'all don't love me like you say you do. Some of y'all came from my throat. Like if I post something about wrestler Tesla or whatever her name is, some of y'all was in my inbox like, why are you going at that girl? But you really gonna hate me Monday. But I love you guys. You guys take care.